Welcome, everyone. This is Glenda Dawson, and I have Sarah Garcia, Moongirl, here with us. And we are the Paranormal Dolls. We could be seen at the Glenda's Magical Creations channel, on the Conscious Awakening Network, on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, and various streaming platforms. Welcome, Sarah. How are you?
I'm super excited to have our wonderful guest, Jason, on here, a dear friend of mine. So, yeah, can't wait.
So, with that, Jason, welcome.
There you go. It's weird when I'm in Orlando on vacation right now
Mhm.
with my kids, and I was telling them earlier that I'm doing this paranormal podcast today that I'm a guest on, and my son was like, "Why are you on a paranormal podcast? Like, what do you?" And I was like, "I'm perfect for it. I get ghosted by women constantly. I'm like, so I'm the perfect person to talk about
But
paranormal." He goes,
thank
"Yeah,
you. I'll
me
be
too."
all week. Try to steak.
Yeah, and then he followed up with like, "Well, at least you're being interviewed by somebody other than the police for once."
That's always a plus.
Yes,
No, yeah,
definitely.
and I'm like, "Hey, Brendan, you just saved me like $500 at Christmas time. Thank you."
Oh, kids, I love them. They always come up
Well,
with most interesting things. So
I
tell
bet
us
they do.
about you. Tell us about
Yeah.
yourself, Jason.
So I'm having an amazing day, awesome day, drinking a blueberry coffee. I
Mm,
woke up this morning, found out that I've got $30 million in a bank account in Saudi Arabia waiting on me. All I got to do is send this prince like 4 grand. So
oh,
I'm actually here to announce my retirement from the film industry. I'm independently super wealthy now, and yeah, so I already I gave you
Yeah.
guys my word. This will be my last one, last one I'm
oh.
ever doing.
Well,
And
we're honored then. We're honored.
wait till the 60 minutes are up, and then you can make that determination for yourself.
So,
So,
Mm.
please tell us
Oh yeah,
about your.
yeah, oh, yeah, right, right.
It's the Jason show today, so it's all about
Oh, you don't
Jason.
want that. You don't want that. No, you'll get kicked off your network. Don't do that. But yeah, so there's a little bit my background. I have a degree in film and television production. Graduated from a school called Full Sail in Orlando, where I'm at now. And that school has grown like immensely too since I went there. It's insane. I went there in 2001. I started school the week that 9/11 happened. It was like the
mm,
first week of school, so everything was just super chaotic and that's all I remember. Like, first time I'd moved out of state, living on my own, out of my parents' house, and I'm like, oh, good, the world's coming to an end as soon as I get out there and on my own, and wonderful. So that was kind of how it all started for me. Went to film school. We do like class projects. It's like a real intense course. When I went there, the highest you could get was an associate. They've expanded now to like a bachelor's you can get in film
mm.
and television. They do recording, show production for like theatrical shows. They do all kinds of stuff there. It's a really amazing, like kind of technical school.
Mhm.
And it's the kind of place for someone like me that you just like, you don't want to leave. You just go there. It's like a huge playground, studios, sets, equipment, just everything is amazing. So when I got there, I was already really big into writing. I ended up writing a script. Everyone had to write like a little short screenplay for our 35 millimeter class project, and then we all like kind of voted on what script we were gonna go with. And mine ended up getting picked. We made the movie. It turned out really well, and so after that, I had a classmate I was going to school with at the time who was like a multimillionaire already on his own. He really liked the way it came out, and he just literally came up to me one day at the end of class and was just like, hey man, we're about to graduate, like what's your plans? I'm like, I don't know, I guess maybe I'm gonna go to LA. Tell you what, write a script. He's like, and I'll put up the money and we'll make it. And so that's how at 20 about 24 years old, I guess, I kind of got started in the film industry, which a lot of people don't really get started that way. A lot of people aren't fortunate enough to know somebody that's that wealthy that just wants to make a
Yeah.
movie. So we ended up making a sketch comedy movie that we did over the like a kind of a lower budget indie movie. Did it for like about $250,000. And techniques that were kind of cool. We would just go out and, to help get distribution, we had this plan. We were like, we're going to buy a few celebrities and we're going to pay them for a day. We're going to bring them in and just shoot, a few scenes, shoot as much stuff as we can with them. And so that was kind of what we did. And we were able to get some different names. Ended up working with a few different agents that were able to, once you get in the door with one, that opens up doors to other people. So, all of a sudden, like, hey, we got Michael Winslow, the guy from Police Academy that does all the voices and all that because he lives here locally. So, okay, great.
Oh, I said I love Police Academy.
Oh,
yeah.
No,
I just said
yeah, he was great. He was great working with him. And so then doors opened up for other people. I brought some of my pictures from the sets. I'll show you. One of the people that I got to work with that was amazing was Pat Morita. There's me and Pat. Mr. Miyagi from The Karate Kid. And it was great. We did a parody of The Karate Kid. We called it The Karate Kid Sized. And he was playing like his character training a dwarf to fight in this parody that we made. And it turned out really, really funny. He actually came in a few days in advance and we worked on the script that I had written together. Like he had different touches that he wanted to put in there that actually fit the Karate Kid more. So it was awesome. So I got a few. There's like me and him on the set discussing some stuff, going over some scenes. And here's his co-star, Bobby, his name. That was a little scene of us going over some of the shots before we shoot. And Pat was great because he's just like a consummate professional. He's one of those types that like you just feed him the idea and like he'll go with it. He can improv. We actually had a scene we improv just completely on the spot. That's the thing when you're doing indie movies, you got to be able to do things on the fly because you only got so much money to work with. You only got so much time to work with. And so working with people like him was, that had been in just a ton of things and they know their craft so well. Whereas a first time director that I was at the time, it made it so much easier because I was still very green and it can be a little intimidating working with somebody that you literally grew up watching in all these movies. Someone that, I'd go out places with him and like he gets recognized everywhere, So it was pretty amazing getting to be around it. That was also when I learned for the first time going out with him that I never want to be famous. I never want to be that recognizable because it's fun. Like there's a fun aspect of it, but then sometimes I could see where it gets a little daunting. But Pat was great. We spent a lot of time together working on that. And then ironically, it ended up being his last movie. So just the fact that I got to be a part of that, the fact that it was like a Karate Kid parody for like his last project, which obviously at the time none of us knew was going to be the case. And he was amazing. Like he had just had hip replacement surgery, like I think it was 3 weeks before, if I recall. So he was slightly limited in his mobility, but man, he was such a trooper. He would just be like, what do you need? And let's figure out how we can do this, how we can work around this and make this work with some camera angles, so forth. And like I said, that's where working with somebody that was so endeared to his craft. And the guy just knew so many tricks from just being around things so often that in the film industry that it just made it so great to work with and so much easier for a first time director, especially. It just made it really easy for me. And at the same time, like I said, just the fact it was like the last project he got to do and I got to be a part of it was just something that I always look back on with very fond memories and just hope that I made him proud. And like I like to tell a story that there was a shoot that we were doing out on the beach one day in Cocoa Beach. And me and him were at, like the sun's coming up. It's early in the morning where people are still setting up. Him and I just discussing what we're going to be shooting coming up, so forth, maybe making a few little changes. And it's just where we just have one of those moments. We're just looking out at the end of this like pier, just at the sun. And I just remember Pat, like we weren't even talking. It's like we were communicating without actually talking to each other. And I remember him just turning to me and just saying like, you guys are gonna make it. This is gonna make it. And like that to me, just hearing that from him at the time was just like it just took a lot of the stress away. It was such an amazing thing for him to say to me as a first time director. And I think he literally told me that as a way to boost my confidence. And it was his way of like letting me know, like, don't be intimidated. Go for it. Go and you know, that's what you got to do in life. It doesn't matter if you're a race car driver, a filmmaker, if you're a baker, whatever it is. You got to have 100% confidence in what you're doing, because if you don't, it's going to show up on the screen. And so that was a super valuable lesson that he taught me early on in confidence. And it was just as simple as him just saying that compliment to me that he didn't have to. And so forever, I'm grateful to have met him, got to be a part of his life, and just for a week. And that was amazing. And then, like I was telling you, like I worked with, like Michael Winslow from Police Academy. So there's a scene of us together. We had a whole bunch of extras. We were doing a gym class scene, and he was playing now this is an R-rated sketch comedy. It's out there. Just state that right now, everybody. So in this scene, Michael Winslow was playing a gym teacher at a predominantly white school that makes all of his white students, work out strenuously nonstop to make up for slavery. Is how the scene was.
Wow.
Yeah, it was different. It was 2002. Okay, so it was a little different era.
Okay.
But
Oh, she got frozen, but that's okay. She's back. There she is.
there you are, Sarah.
There you are, Sarah.
Then another guy I got to work with, a man by the name of James Hong.
Oh, okay.
He's been in so many movies. It's insane. TV shows. He's probably most well known at the time when I worked with him. He was best known. He did like Revenge of the Nerds 2. He was in Blade Runner. Big Trouble in Little China is probably the one that he's most known for. He plays Lo Pan, the main antagonist. And he was on an episode of Seinfeld where they're trying to get into a Chinese restaurant, or they're trying to get a table, and he's the maitre d' that they keep trying to like tip. And so when I was out with James, it was funny because so many people would come up and they just knew him from Seinfeld. They would just walk up to him. They'd be like, "Oh my God, I love you in Seinfeld." Like they don't know his name. They just know that you're the guy from Seinfeld. And I had to listen to him like over and over again just for people. And he was great. Like he would totally do it for fans. He would just go, "Seinfeld, Body Paul," or whatever. just like, because he knew that's what they wanted to hear and stuff. And so he was cool. And so there's a little shot of us on the set when he was playing his character. He was in a couple of different scenes. And he was amazing. And he was actually, James was just in, I can never remember the title, the movie that won Best Picture this year, like Everything, Anything, All at Once. I think it was something like that with Jamie Lee Curtis. So when that won Best Picture, and I'm like, James Hong's in his 90s. This guy's done more movies than I can even begin to count. And I just thought it was so amazing. Like end of his career, he's in a Best Picture, and he just got a star on the Walk of Fame like a few months back. So that was amazing. Like I still keep in contact. So I was like so proud of him. Sent him an email. Here I am. I'm like a third of his age or half his age. And I'm just like, I'm so proud of you, man. Like, good for you. Like, he deserved it. And I asked him on the set, and I felt really embarrassed when I asked him because I assumed he already had one. And so I remember asking him, like, "Where's your star on the Walk of Fame at? Like, I want to check it out next time I'm in LA." And I remember he kind of looked down and he was a little embarrassed, and he was like, "I don't have one." I was like, "What? You don't have it? Like, you've been in like everything. You've worked with everybody. Like, how do you not have?" So when he got his star, I was like, I felt like a proud parent, of my 96-year-old Asian boy, that I was so happy for him. And so yeah, he was an amazing guy. Just like Pat, same thing. Dude, like he just gets everything. He knows what touches to put on things. He knows exactly how you, like, we would discuss it, but like it was all just, we were just going through the motions. He already knew exactly what he was going to do. He already knew exactly how this was going to go down, and we roll tape, and all I'd have to do is just basically sit back and watch the performance, yell cut, and pinch myself. That was about all I could do with James, because you can't tell him what to do. He knows everything.
Right.
Now, speaking of people that you can tell how to act, I worked with Dennis Rodman.
Ooh.
That's Dennis holding a gun to my head, and that's his bodyguard. Zaire. So, and Dennis was interesting. He was great. We did a couple scenes with him. He loves acting. So he doesn't get as many opportunities. I was a big Chicago Bulls fan growing up. And I was a big fan of Dennis Rodman because when I played basketball in school and stuff, like I liked playing defense. I liked being the guy who did the rebounding. I didn't really care about scoring. So Dennis Rodman, that was his role in the NBA. And so I kind of took to him, and I kind of liked his attitude and stuff, even though he's a little crazy at times. And so it was a real joy getting him in the movie. Very shy guy, which one thing I was very surprised about. I just remember it took a little bit of time to get him kind of warmed up in the morning to everything. Probably because he was at a strip club till 4 a.m. the night before. Maybe, I don't know. That's just what I heard from people. You know, and you have like a 7:30 call time, and you're in strip club until 4. Whatever. Hey, everyone has their own different methods. That's the way I look at it, right? Gino does his thing, Rodman does his thing, whatever. But he was great, though. He was awesome to work with. I got to hear some Michael Jordan stories. So, like, the inner 12-year-old inside of me the whole time was just like geeking out, working with him. But he was cool. And then I also in the movie, and it's, oh, by the way, the title of the movie is Blunt Movie. I should probably mention that.
Right.
So, Blunt Movie. Yeah, it had a different title, and then they changed it to Blunt Movie when it came out. And it's been some years. Somebody actually sent me a picture of a copy of it, like on DVD in Spain or something, not that long ago. That I thought was funny. I was like, oh, okay. Still, like every so often, I'll have somebody like message me or something and be like, hey, I saw your movie in this store or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, cool, buy it. So I'll get 2 cents out of it, please. So that was cool. And I get people sometimes, like I had a guy not even a month ago from England, wanted to send me his copy and asked me if I'd sign it for him. He found me on Facebook. I was like, would you sign a copy and send it to me? And I had mini posters. So I was like, oh, I'll send you a mini poster with it as well. And so, I love it. Like I'll hear from people every so often that either just found the movie for the first time or they saw it years ago or whatever it might be. And they'll just reach out to be like, hey, that was, I thought this was hilarious or this or that or whatever, or what else do you got that you've done since then? So that's always kind of cool to hear from people. I always love it. So anybody, ever wants to message me on Facebook, they're more than welcome to. I always love hearing from fans of film and talking about just whatever is going on in the world of the film industry. Most of my friends on Facebook are all film professionals. And a lot of them have time off right now because a lot of them are writers, and there's a Writers Guild strike going on. So for my friends in the Writers Guild, solidarity. Like, they're very passionate about what they do, as they should be, because there's no, Robert Evans is a real famous producer, did Godfather, Love Story, ran Paramount, and I read his book, watched his documentary. And I was actually in his office at one time. I had a friend out at Paramount that worked for him. And so I actually he wasn't there, but I sat in his office and just looked at the wall of just black and white pictures everywhere everyone from Dustin Hoffman to Jack Nicholson, pictures of him with everybody. I mean, it was amazing. Yeah. It was one of those like offices where it's got like the little bar on the side and all of his posters from movies and Japanese versions of them and all that stuff hanging everywhere. And I'm just like a kid in a candy store. I'm just looking around like, how am I here right now? I don't know. But Robert Evans, his big thing was that it starts with the writing. It starts with the writer. It starts with the script. You have nothing without a script. You have nothing without that the writers. Actors obviously extremely important. You don't have the performance without the actor, but they got to have the dialogue. They got to, I look at the script. It's kind of like the roadmap. You don't necessarily always stay on the same path. Sometimes you go off in a little, but you end up ultimately going to the destination that you are, setting out to reach. And so it's a collaborative thing, but writers always been extremely dear to my heart. So yeah, like right now with the Writers Guild strike going on, like any of them are watching or listening, like hang in there. because it'll be worth it in the end for sure. And they definitely deserve every penny they get.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that said, here's me with a supermodel. Angie Everhart, supermodel that used to be, I don't think she was actually married to Sylvester Stallone. I think they were engaged for a while. So it was kind of cool working with her. She'd done some movies prior. She'd been on, like the cover, like Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue and things like that. So yeah, it was like, if Pat Morita was intimidating to work with, meeting her and being around her and trying to sound intelligent while I'm like not like wiping drool off my mouth as I'm staring at her, like it was like the most beautiful woman I've ever seen at that point in my life. I was literally just like, wow, how are you here in the same room with me right now? I don't know. But she was amazing. She was great to work with. I worked with, some other like minor kind of celebrities, people from like the Howard Stern show. There's one I always like to show. That's Jackie Martling. We did a nice little horror scene where he's a guy in a bathroom that gets stabbed to death and hacked to death in a toilet bathroom stall. And actually, I'll give a shout out to my friend Alan Ostrander from AEO Studios. He did all the special effects, makeup, and all that kind of stuff. He's an amazing guy who's done a lot of movies. So I've been very blessed. In Central Florida, they do have a lot of good actors and a lot of film professionals. So I always tell people all the time, like, you can do something anywhere. Like LA, yeah, there's a lot of things available to you there, but you can also do it outside of LA. And, actually a lot of people right now are kind of leaving the LA scene, to be honest with you. I was just reading some stories last night, like Mark Wahlberg and some other people have basically just left LA because I guess California's gotten a little too crazy for them or something. That's why I just like to go visit once in a while. I don't know if I'd want to live there. But that was the movie we did, and it came out, and it was nice. That's the one I guess I'm best well known for directing and so forth, because of the celebrities and whatever we had in there. The thing with Dennis too. Oh, the one story I like to tell. I got my guy Ray Thunderhawk here. He has, when I was watching Tiger King not too long ago, it reminded me of him because he literally has tigers, lions, panthers, you name it, goblins. Like he has them all. It's like takes stuff in his backyard. And he let us. I had a scene where Dennis Rodman is playing this lawyer, and it involved a tiger. So we had this giant white Bengal tiger in a cage behind him as background, while Dennis is wearing this really nice suit we rented him, and he's standing in front of this cage doing his dialogue. Took a few takes because we're in this middle of nowhere, and I got my cue card guy standing there. We're like, all right, ready to go, action. Immediately after I yell action on the first take, the tiger turns around, rears her behind up, and just starts spraying all over the back of Dennis Rodman. And I remember at the time just being like, you gotta be kidding me. And I'm just like, this is insane. Like we just went in the suit. It's one of the first things we're shooting. We just got urinated on all over by a tiger. And then I remembered that he used to date Madonna. So I was like, you know what? Actually, he probably enjoyed that in hindsight. Because he probably pays good money for that on the weekends, actually. So
Got it for free today.
Let your flag fly. I don't know, whatever. Yeah, that was kind of my experience working on that movie. And that was a lot of fun. Got me introduced into the world of distribution and, all the other things, because I wore a lot of hats on that movie. I directed it, I produced it, I wrote it. Whatever, when you're doing an indie movie, like you got to wear a lot of hats. And so I wore a lot of hats on that one. And even on the post-production side, every day.
So we love and support
indie
film.
Like,
yes. She loves and supports indie films. That's what she said.
Yeah. Oh, okay, gotcha. Sorry. Like I have a phone right now that is like tinfoil is operating it right now, keeping it going. So I apologize if I don't hear you very good sometimes. But yeah, indie films, like I'm the same way. I've often joked to people, I'm like, making an independent movie is harder than like taking over a small country. I think at this, it just, it really, boy, you talk about like, and I'm glad I was in like when I was doing this movie, I was luckily in my, like mid-20s, because like, a lot more energy, a lot more all that at the time. Also though, lack of experience, lack of, so you learn on the fly. Like you make mistakes, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes in anything, but you learn from those mistakes. And that's why like nowadays I love more than anything, like with all my friends on Facebook that are film professionals, I love picking their brains about whatever. I've got one of my friends on Facebook, I didn't even realize for a couple of years is the guy who wrote Sleepless in Seattle until he posted his notes from the original movie on Facebook. And I was like, whoa, I'm friends with the guy from I'm writing him a message right now. I love that movie. And yeah, like I mean, I've got friends on Facebook that have done things that like I had no idea. They, one of my good friends, I'm a huge David Lynch fan, so one of the special effects guys that worked on Blue Velvet and like just all kinds of Lynch films and other movies that I've seen. He created like some of the like very iconic props and makeup jobs and stuff, and I'm like, I'm friends with this guy. Empire Records he worked on, like all these movies I've watched. So I love, reaching out to people, picking their brains, or even just something as simple as just like, hey man, I absolutely love, your work. Because all the time it's mainly, the director and the actors. Those are the ones that always get the credit. Those are the ones that generally get, the spotlight. But everybody, it's a collaborative effort. Like, from the people that are doing craft services to the people that are driving your actors around, location scouts, like it can't be done without these crew members. Right. And that's why I was doing a photo shoot yesterday, getting some new headshots done for this new project I got coming out. And it's funny because I was talking to the photographer, who's a friend of mine also, and he was saying the same thing to me. He was just like, what I can't stand? He's like, I can't stand when I see the beginning of a movie, like a film by so-and-so. He's like, it always irritates me because I know there's so many people that work. Like it wasn't just this woman or man's film. And I was like, same here. Like I feel the exact same way. It's a collaborative effort. And that's why you'll never see one of my movies with a film by Jason Bunch on it, because it's not a film by me. It's a film by a whole bunch of people. And that's the best thing I can pass on is like, it's a collaborative effort. When you're watching that movie, like you're watching the efforts from hundreds of people, not just a handful or whatever. Yes, they may be the key people, so to speak, key people, but everybody to me is a key person. It doesn't matter what your job is on the set. If you're a PA and you're getting something for the actors, that's important. You got to keep, especially if you got bigger actors, you got to keep them comfortable. You got to keep them happy to get that performance. So it's kind of like they're like dog trainers. Give them a treat once in a while. Make them feel good. No one is ever going to work with me again after this comes out.
And
I got $30 million out there.
Speaking of new projects, you have this really awesome, spooky new project I'd love for you to talk about, and please promote the crap out of it.
Absolutely. All right. So you're referring to McRaven House. Okay. So just a little backstory. I'll give you the whole, like how it came to be with McRaven House, which is a real house in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Okay. So I kind of fell out of the film industry for a while, like the writing aspect part of it. Wasn't really doing a lot of that for a while. I always had this idea for a script that I wanted to write that involved like a group of cheerleaders, where one of them, like the captain of the cheerleading squad, gets kidnapped, and it's this whole kind of like whodunit comedy, like R-rated kind of. It was like at the time, like the high school R-rated, like Porky's and American Pie, like it kind of along that theme as far as the humor and stuff. And I had this idea, and I spent like, 14, 15. In fact, I brought, just to show you all, these are over about 15 years worth of notes right here. I don't know. And we're talking like front and back side. sometimes I would have the willpower to actually like type out the notes. And then after I would type out the notes, I would then go through. I'll show you an example here. So I would type out my notes, the scenes, everything, and then you can see my scratch all over it, where I'm writing additional notes in, additional lines, additional ideas, and it just goes on and on. Like every page is like that, and that's all you can do. And to be honest with you, if even 5% of what I had in here made it on to my script, I'd be amazed. But that's how you got to do it sometimes. You just got to put everything out there on paper. I write everything down now. Everything. I don't care how insignificant it feels, because I'm like, I know there will come a time where I'll be like, what was that line again? What was that? What was the name of that character, that interesting name I came up with that I could be using right now? And, so I just write everything down now. And and then what I do, my process, I like to find movies that are very similar in theme to whatever I was doing. So when I was writing this cheerleading script, I watched every Bring It On movie. I was going, and it's not even like, I wasn't so much watching them for like, oh, I love these movies or whatever. To be honest, a lot of them are kind of corny, and they're all cookie cutter, and that's fine. There's something for everybody. Not everyone's tastes are the same. So I'd watch all these movies, and then I'd watch like kidnap movies from like the 70s, and things that had the same kind of feel to it, that invoked the same kind of emotion or whatever I was going for. And I watched these movies, and I take notes, and I would write down not necessarily what I liked about them. I would write down what didn't work in them. So then when I would be writing my stuff, I want to make sure I'm not copying something, even if it's something I didn't mean to copy. It comes out, people are gonna be like, well, you just copy this from Bring It On 4, or whatever. It's like, okay, so I watch them all. I mean, I even watched Making the Dallas Cheerleader, Cowboys cheerleading. They had like a 12-part series on the making of that. I interviewed people. I had, people I knew that were cheerleaders in high school. My next door neighbor growing up was a cheerleader later in life for the Kansas City Chiefs for several years. So I just interviewed the heck out of them. Asked them anything and everything, from high school aspect, professional aspect, anything I could think of that might fit into my script, because I want it to be accurate, funny, entertaining, also accurate. So that's kind of my process, is watch a lot of movies, watch a lot of things. And I wanted, the title of it is Teenage Bikini Babes Washing Cars for Charity. The main character's name is Charity. That's where the charity part comes in, because they're trying to raise the ransom money to from their car wash to get her back, and so that's kind of where that all the theme of that all. And it just came out like, for 15 years I was trying to write the script. I could never get it how I wanted it. I was never happy. I'm my own toughest critic. And then finally, when the pandemic was going on, I just sat down and I said to myself, I'm going to write the script, and I'm going to do it, and that's all there is to it. I don't care how long, I don't care how much I strain my brain over this, I'm going to do it. So I sat down, and over the course of 5 nights, probably about 18 to 20 hours each day, I wrote a rough draft. I did it in 5 days. Something I couldn't do in 15 years, I did in 5 days. And then I turned around and spent the next 5 weeks just going over it over and over and over again, until I had it good enough to where I would show it to somebody. So one thing I hate, I don't like showing unfinished work to somebody. For me, I don't know, it's got to be completely done, and it's got to be something I'm satisfied with before I'll even show it to even a friend, let alone somebody in the industry. So when I finally got it done, got it to the level that I felt like it was worthy of showing, I started sending it off some people I knew out in LA from when I was doing the film stuff prior. Sent it to one good friend of mine that's a producer that I thought, like, if there's somebody who would give me a honest opinion, all that, like, it would be this guy. And I waited several months, kind of thought, uh-oh, I guess they didn't like it, because I'm not hearing anything back. So, okay, no big deal. It's writing practice is what I thought. And then one day, get a phone call from a producer, read your script, I love it. He wanted to make it into like a mini series, for like, or not like a mini, but like a series, like a 8-10 parter or something. So I didn't really picture it as. but I'm open to anything. Anything that has dollar signs attached, I'm open. So, so yeah, we worked out an option. This is also in the heart of the pandemic, and it was still going on. No productions going on anywhere. So it kind of got put on the shelf in the meantime. He had a couple other scripts. He liked my style. He liked the humor I had in my script. He had a couple other scripts that he already had options on, and asked me that I would go through them and kind of punch them up a little, add some humor, so forth, or whatever. And so this is where it got risky. One script, I was working on a script for him, and I made this decision about 20 pages in. They basically just wanted me to transfer the script kind of how it was. Like, don't change scenes, don't change characters, just punch up dialogue. That was about it. That was kind of my job. Well, I just couldn't do that. So I ended up, after about page 20, like the story it was going in a different direction for me than what they had. And as a writer, I don't know, it's weird. Like the story, you have something really good going when you don't even really have to think about it sometimes. The story just takes you there. And you're just the transcriber. Like a friend of mine once told me in film school, he said, I love film, I love writing, because it's the only way you can ever play God. You get to create the people, you create what they say, you create the situations they're in. And I agree with that to an extent. You do create the people, you do create the situations. But if you have something that's really good, the story is going to go where it wants to go. And it's up to you to follow that story and to go where the characters are wanting to take you, even if it's not what you initially thought. And so when I was doing this rewrite, I was like, this is how they got it, but this characters are telling me that this isn't the story. So I took a big gamble and I let the characters take me where it had to go, and I just transcribed everything and sent it. Actually, I was not even fully done. I was about 80% done with it when the producer called me and was like, hey, I need to see what you got. Like, send me what you have. And as I just told you, I hate sending things when it's incomplete. So I'm like, oh, wow. I wanted to have this thing all the way done before they read it and realized that, like, he changed 80% of her story. And without having the ending in there, the last 25 or so pages, like, they're not going to see how this comes to completion. So I was nervous. I'm like, they may not like this. They may not like this rogue writer who decided that he knows better and whatever, even though in reality it was just, like I said, the story just went somewhere else, and I had to go that way. So I sent it to him, and I waited, and after about a week, I get a phone call. I see the LA area code on my phone, and I remember stepping outside where I was at one of my family businesses, helping them. They're doing a gaming center, and I was helping them design it, the inside of it. I remember stepping outside and going like, this is it. Like, I'm about to find out if I'm completely fired from ever working with this guy again and doing anything with them ever again, or we'll see. And I answered the phone, and the producer, he likes to call me by my last name. So he's like, Bunch. I'm like, yes. And there's a long pause, long as it felt like an eternity. And he goes, we love what you wrote. We love it. And I was just like, God, it was like the biggest relief of my life, because I was like, that what I did could have been very, very detrimental to me. It doesn't matter what you think sometimes. It doesn't matter what you feel. Like, this is where the story should go. This is where the story should be. Producer knows best in their minds sometimes. So it's hard sometimes to convince people of, like, no, you really need to go in this direction. Well, why? Well, because I say so, because I think so, and so it's risky. A lot of egos in Hollywood. Maybe you've heard that before. I don't know. There's just a little bit of ego there, and just a little bit. Yeah. So it was a gamble, but you know what? In life, if you look at a lot of the most successful people in life, and I'm definitely not there yet. I'm working on it, but generally, there's at least one instance in their life where they took a huge gamble, and it paid off for them. And if they had not taken that gamble, they wouldn't be where they are. So I tell people sometimes, you know, you get one life, you get one go at this. Just do what is in your heart, do what you feel you got to do, and that's what I did. And luckily for me, it paid off. And as we had this conversation about the rewrites I'd done, um, he tells me then, he's like, we love what you wrote, we love what you got going, but we need you to stop. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, you want me to? Okay, all right, I will stop. Like that's what you want. And then they're like, well, we want you to stop because we have this other idea that's on the burner right now, and it's hot, and we need to get on this one immediately because this is something we can do right away. And he had been doing a movie in Mississippi for Lifetime that he was producing. Met a couple that owns, like they were shooting, I believe, at one of their properties that this couple owned. And then the wife was telling him about like, oh, you really need to come see this house that we have. We think it would be a great backdrop for like a horror suspense kind of movie. It's got history, and that turned out to be McRaven House.
Mm.
I'd never even heard of McRaven House at the time. Apparently, it's pretty famous in the South. Kind of the background of the house is it was used in the Civil War as like a hospital for both the North and the South. So that's kind of interesting. You have Confederate soldiers, you have, you know, from the Union, you have soldiers that all died there, and several of them, quite a few of them. So it's got a very interesting history. It's and they were very interested in having something done with it. So the direction I was given was basically like, hey, we want you to start writing this script immediately. We need something on paper. So when this pandemic ends here, hopefully soon, we got something to go and we can start putting this together now and we're ready to, you know, roll. And I had like a couple of months to do this. And the direction I was given was essentially, it's like McRaven House. It's like the house is haunted. The town is haunted. There's a haunted object in the house. Something. There you go. Go from there. And I'm like, all right, that's very, very specific. Thank you. So I try to create a story given very little direction. And to me, like the endings are very important, you know. And so I kind of reverse engineered things. I did things a little differently. I actually thought of an ending first, and I thought of an ending with a twist that I thought was really good, that I could not really think of any film I had seen that kind of a twist in before. So I was very fortunate. Within the first like 48 hours of working on this, I already came up with an ending. That's usually one of the hardest parts, is come up with an ending. You know, it's about something that's going to really wrap everything up, leave them, you know, I want people at least walking out of the theater discussing the ending, what it meant, how it tied in, all that kind of stuff. And it's like I said, it's like a twist ending that you just, in my opinion, I was like, I want to write something that is going to be really good that people won't see coming, because that's what I love. Like I love like the M. Night Shyamalan twist endings and stuff. So I wanted to kind of create something that was like a little throwback to that. So I got that, and then once I had that down, then it was like, okay, now what's everything that's going to lead up to that? And I had been talking to my daughter, telling her about it. She's 11, and she was like, you know, can you name a character after me in the script? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Her name's Brooklyn, and it's, you know, kind of a unique name, different. I'm like, I haven't really seen that in movies before, so I named the lead character Brooklyn after my daughter in the movie.
Nice.
And yeah, she'll get to see it someday when she's older. It's an R-rated movie. So I'm like, you know, and like in the movie, her character is like kind of a mid-20s, late 20s private investigator, independent woman, tough as nails kind of type. I like writing female characters a lot. I like making a lot of my lead characters females. So started, you know, really working on that and figuring out a storyline. And she's like, she has to go to the McRaven house to find a missing girl. And she's been hired by this kind of mysterious rich benefactor type. Without giving too much of the story away, that's kind of how it all starts rolling. This is the last destination this girl was seen at, so she has to go to this house, stay at this house. And so when I was writing the script, the girl is in obviously a haunted house and a lot of mysterious, crazy things going on all around her. But she's the type that like it won't scare her off, so to speak. And so since she was going to be extremely uncomfortable in like in uncomfortable surroundings, like I wanted to put myself in some uncomfortable surroundings. So I literally lived out of my car for about a month. I was working at a hotel at the time, so I would spend the days in the lobby typing away at my script, and then I would write notes and stuff in my car in the evenings. And I wanted to put myself. It's like I guess method writing is the there's method acting. I wanted to. I've never done this before. I wanted to try method writing. I was like, I want to put myself in the most uncomfortable position I possibly can. Literally, I'm going to force myself to be, in a sense, homeless for a month while I work on this, and it was amazing. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. I loved it. I won't say I would want to do it forever, live out of my car and write a script, but it was good. It was interesting. Like I couldn't, put myself into like a haunted house kind of situation where I was at, but I was like, what's the way I can make myself uncomfortable? What's the way I can make myself on edge a little bit, like she would be in this house? And how can I put myself mentally in the same spot that she's in, that I'm writing? Kind of in like solidarity with my character. So I did it. I just lived out of my car for a month, and it was actually, like I said, it was amazing, and the script came out amazing. I was so happy with it. And there was just little crazy things that was going on with this script. Like I like to tell the story. Um, the main character's name is Brooklyn. So at one point I had some writer's block. I kind of hit this spot where I was like, okay, I kind of know like the scenes I want to write. I just got to figure out like what are the steps to get there. Like how do I transition into this scene, and then this scene will transition to this, so forth, and it'll keep things rolling. And I kind of hit a spot where I couldn't quite figure it out, and it was frustrating me. So music. I love music. Music's obviously very inspiring. So I did a search on Google for songs that had Brooklyn in the title. So I thought maybe that could be inspiring to me. And the second song I came across on the first list of like 20 songs with Brooklyn in the title that are famous. And the second song was a song called Brooklyn Baby by Lana Del Rey. And the irony is, like, I had been to a Lana Del Rey concert about a year before. I was probably one of the only males above 35 years old that was at that show, but I was there. And I used to make fun of Lana Del Rey a lot. And so I had to kind of take a step back and say, okay, like I listened to her song and it was amazing. Like her song was very inspiring to me. And it was the weirdest thing that I've ever experienced, because as I'm listening to this song that I may or may not have heard in the past, I honestly don't remember, but it just had a haunting vibe to the music, her voice. And then I like listening to the lyrics. Some of her lyrics in that song were literally some almost verbatim with stuff I'd already written, and with scenes that I was planning on writing fit with lyrics that were actually in her song. That like just like it was just so odd. It was so eerie, and I loved it. And I just started listening to that song before I would start writing, and I would listen to that song on repeat sometimes while I was writing. It just became like background. I just absorbed. And after that moment, like I didn't have writer's block again. It was just full speed ahead from there. And so now that's become like a new thing of mine. I like to find, I'm working on a new script now. I like to find a song that fits when I'm writing, and it just ties it kind of all together. And then I'll listen to that music before I start writing to put myself mentally in the place I got to go, where I need to be at to give these characters the full attention they deserve and need, and to really, leave no stone unturned, so to speak.
Right.
And so I had to really, it made me reassess things, like making fun of Lana Del Rey for years, and all of a sudden being inspired by one of her songs and writing a script that seemingly seemed to fit a lot of the things that were in her song already. And it's just I think I was just meant to hear that song. So it's now become one of my favorite all-time songs that for anybody out there, go look up Brooklyn Baby by Lana Del Rey and give it a listen. It's a great song. I love it. And I'm hoping they can get it in the movie. I don't know if they can. Lana Del Rey probably cost a few pennies to get it, I'm sure.
Right.
But you never know. I've suggested it.
So, did your paranormal experiences help you create some of this movie, some of this horror movie, and all that?
Yeah, definitely. I've had some in my lifetime for sure. Actually, the house I'm in right now in Florida is actually my ex's house that I'm staying with for the week while I'm here. And we get along really well now. We didn't always necessarily. And when I lived here prior, this house, there's history to this house. Somebody had committed suicide in this house back in the late 90s. And when I remember when we decided we were going to have kids and all that, she owned a few properties, and this was one of them. We were living in a smaller house, so she decided we're going to sell that house. We're going to move to the bigger one. And she didn't tell me at the time the history that had happened here. And so right after we moved in, and she kind of told me like, oh, by the way, like, this young lady, unfortunately killed herself in this house years ago. And so I was like, oh, okay, it's good to know. Like, so then she almost immediately had to go out of town for work for like a week. The first week I was here by myself. And I'm telling you, the first week I was here, like I distinctly heard a female's voice one night while I was in the shower, yell "Dad" from like the other side of the house. So that was like, wow, great. I slept with all the lights on that night. I've heard doors close on their own. Lots of times actually here. I had a friend over one time, didn't tell him anything about the house at all. And I remember him going into the kitchen when we were just going through the house, showing the house or whatever. And I remember in the kitchen, he stopped in the kitchen and was like, he's like, this is so bizarre. He's like, but I feel like this very, very cold, like presence in your kitchen. He's like, it's so weird. Nowhere else in your house. I just feel it here. Well, turns out that's where she had unfortunately committed suicide, was in the kitchen. And I hadn't told him that or anything. So when he told me that, I was just like, whoa, like, okay. So it got to the point where I told Julie, my ex, I was like, let's get some paranormal investigators to come over. Like, just, if anything, just for fun, just to see, like, what if they'd be interested. And so they did some investigating. They confirmed everything that they had researched, that there was this individual and what her name was and what year and everything, cause of death. So everything lined up with what I had been told, but from the research that they did. And they came over one night, and they brought video cameras and just, whatever equipment that you guys obviously a lot more familiar with than me, recording equipment and stuff that like looked like you're seeing like Ghostbusters or something. They're going around doing readings and so forth. And they had set up 3 video cameras, and I was standing behind the cameras, and I watched 2 of the cameras. After about 20 minutes of them recording different parts of the house, I watched 2 cameras shut off simultaneously at the same time, right in front of me. And they were on 3-hour batteries, is what I was told. They were completely charged. One of the cameras was brand new that they'd never even used before, they told me. And they just literally, after 20 minutes, the batteries were drained and they just shut off at the same time. So that was very compelling to have witnessed that. I mean, you hear things, you see things on shows, and I can be a skeptic, and I'll see things sometimes and wonder, like, okay, is that real? Is that something? Is that a camera trick? I couldn't explain that one. Like, I witnessed it myself. Right. So that was different, and they never got back to me with their findings. They told me that they did hear voices on their audio recordings and so forth, and I never did get to hear them or whatever. So I don't know if it was like they didn't come back. So I've always wondered, like, are they not coming back for a reason? Did they hear some really effed up stuff on that too? Keeping them from coming back.
More investigators, I am available to go at your home.
Amen. Hey, come on down.
Yeah.
You're the next investigator. on the, yeah. So, yeah. So it's interesting having lived here. And then my favorite story of all time. My daughter, when she was less than a year old, I'm sitting on the couch one day watching TV or something like that. Can't remember exactly what I was doing, but she had a bunch of her toys all just strewn out around the floor and so forth, kind of like today. But when she was a year old, she's sitting on the couch watching me, and she just gave me the dirtiest look when I said that too, just now. But one of her, she had this little electronic, like Mickey Mouse Club guitar that you press like buttons and it lights up and it plays the theme song to the Mickey Mouse Club.
Mhm.
And so I'm sitting there, and this guitar's just sitting off with all the other toys, and it starts just going off. I'm like, all right, whatever. Goes off again. Goes like finally, like the fourth time this thing's going off, and I was so comfortable at the time and sitting on my nice leather couch, and I was like, I don't want to get up. Finally, after like 4 times, I'm like, fine, I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna shut this stupid thing off. So I go over there, pick up the guitar, turn it around. Well, it's on off already. Well, that's interesting.
Mhm.
All right, fine. It's an electronic toy. It's probably malfunctioning for some reason, whatever. I'm just gonna yank the batteries out, and that'll put an end to this.
Right.
And I take the battery thing off, no batteries in it. So I'm just like, wow, okay. I was like, I give up. So, yeah, that was kind of like my own little like Annabelle experience or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. Somewhere. Yeah, that thing, it had a free price tag on it at our next garage sale. Front and center, right there. Like, take this. It's yours. Like, you want to move into the house? You can have it. Make me an offer. $1. Yours.
So we have about 3 minutes left. Tell us a little bit more. When is that movie hopefully coming out? Do you
Yeah.
have any idea?
Doing production. Actually, just texting the producer earlier. They're raising some more funds now. Apparently, is what I was just told. He was giving me an update on the budget. So they're in the process right now of working on some more funds. Working on
You have a Indiegogo GoFundMe or something?
They're doing it all independently.
All
This guy, yeah, he's got connections to where they don't have to go that route. Thankfully. So yeah, they're doing that. They're getting the rest of the funds put together, and they're getting ready. It looks like to start shooting this hopefully in like the next month and a half or so is what I've been told.
Nice.
Yeah, so they're getting they had some. I guess there was a few issues with the director or something like that going on for a while, like creative differences.
Mhm.
That's the entertainment industry for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited. Like I'm gonna go out there for a few days, be an extra in it, and it's just fun. Like watching what you wrote come to life. And it's never 100% what you wrote. Like everything always gets changed around and so forth. So you just got to accept it, and that's fine. It's just to be a part of it is going to be awesome. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then when they have the premiere and so forth, I'm really looking forward to being there and kind of have my little Hollywood minute and seeing what it does. They own the rights to the McRaven House, anything. So prequels, sequels, whatever.
Nice.
Hoping, this thing's a success. I'd love to be a part of future ones. So that's kind of the hope and the goal right now is just see how it turns out and make it the Amityville of the South. That's what I say.
You need to come back when it's all done and promote it again, please. So that'd be awesome.
Absolutely, I would love to. You guys are amazing. I love talking to you ladies. So I would do this a second time if you wanted me to.
Inside joke, everyone. Inside joke. Our first one got messed up. So we're redoing it. But
I was going to say it.
We have a little bit of trouble right now too. So like, oh god.
Well, thank you, Jason, for again.
Thank you, ladies, for having me.
We appreciate you coming back for this.
All right.
Yeah, real quick.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have my daughter pop in and say hi. All right. Quit hogging the spotlight. Get out of here. My podcast. You write your own movie.
All right. Thank you again. We wish you well. And goodbye, everyone. Blessings. Bye.